Thank you, Leo, to President Lambert, members of the board, honored guests, parents and family, and most important, to members of the class of 2013. Thank you. Leo Lambert came to New York about a year or so ago and asked us not to brag, to make a family donation of about $50 billion to Elon. I think talks broke down over their refusal to rename it Brylon, and we agreed to $50, and so at a second meeting, the question comes, and it's actually a phone call, a long wind-up, and he says, we're wondering if you'd be willing to give the commencement speech. I said, as long as my son Doug agrees. So I called. He lives just off campus at an EPA Superfund site. It's a small home, about 19 young men living there. Depends on the time of day. About 40 of them overnight and then 19 during the day. And they're good Elon men. They're resourceful. They cook meals. They cook meals mostly in the warming tray under the dishwasher, where the meals are warmed by the sparks that fall underneath the dishwasher. Old Sparky's been a very dependable source of cooking in this house for a long time. So I called Doug and I said, would it be okay? I won't do this if you don't want me to. And he said yes. And then there was a follow-up visit with Leo in New York, and I could tell he was preparing to say something else. And I said, what is it? And he said, well, we move things along on commencement day. We have a lot of graduates. We still walk the stage. We hand out individual degrees. We ask our speakers to keep it to 10 minutes. And I'm afraid the blood just left my head there in New York. I said, Leo, 10 minutes. 10 minutes, I'm still like putting my stuff on the treadmill. I'm still getting ready. I'm still kind of agreeing to what incline I want, what walk I've got. I got to find a cup holder for my water. 10 minutes, I'm like putting my iPod on. I'm picking out Dad's dance mix. Getting some Asher Roth going, you know. I said, Leo, I can do 10 minutes on the acorn. Just the acorn. I don't want to single anybody out or attack the acorn, mostly because my stuff is still there. The acorn always comes up whenever 2 or more Elon parents are gathered. It needs, I think, lodging improvement. They couldn't be nicer there. They have those complimentary stairs. And you know, on the upside at the Acorn, we've all stayed there, it's a rite of passage, there is a tremendous sense of community. The downside of this spectacular weather, everything is just exploding and in bloom right now. I found that at my advanced age, I'm suddenly adult onset allergies, and I get these sneezing fits. I had one last night, middle of the night, no fewer than 4 neighboring families wish me their blessing. It's a lovely thing. You really feel surrounded and enveloped at the Acorn. So here's the problem with 10 minutes. It actually, with Leo limiting me to 10 minutes, he handed me a huge metaphor, of course. It's obvious to you that life is, when you think about it, life is 10 minutes. And I'm already down to 6 minutes. And that's about where I am in life. I've had an unusual life. For starters, you members of the class of 13 should know something very important. I'm a college dropout. So effective today, all of you have something I don't have, something I failed at, something I failed to achieve. That is cause for congratulations, and sadly, it is cause for a warning. No excuses. Not big on excuses. Job finding, world saving, you got to go out and go after it now. You have a degree from this institution, which means you are an unstoppable force. You want to talk about time? Since our 10-minute rule's been enforced, I was in Moore, Oklahoma 3 days ago. I saw where Sidney Angle lived. Sidney Angle was 9 years old, and he loved one thing, throwing a baseball with his dad. You think his dad isn't thinking about time right about now? How about the parents of Cody Taus? Cody Taus was killed in Afghanistan this week, on Thursday. 1st Armored Division. He was 21 years old. Friends and family said he loved the Beatles and Johnny Cash. He was intelligent and loved to read. And Cody Taus didn't have the opportunity to go to Elon. While you were here, he was over there. How do you think his family feels about time right about now? How would you like to meet some other people who have been forced over their lifetimes to think very acutely about time, passage of time, the value of life? I want to introduce you to some special guests you probably didn't think about being here today in the rush of today, but they are here. For this to work, even though you're going to want to stand because you'll be clapping wildly, please stay seated so we can see them all clearly. Will all the veterans, active duty and reservists with us today, please stand up. That's how that works. Part of my job is to remind you about time today. And part of my time is to represent all of your parents and families. I have a special burden, as I said to you in our little session this morning, because your commencement speaker is part of the parent body. I have to represent them all. Sadly, they don't all get to come up here today, and this is a cherished role. So what can I say about all of them as they look at you? They want you to know they are so proud of you. They want you to know they've really watched you change over these 4 years. They are so happy not to pay Elon anymore. They are so happy that when you take your life in your hands that one last time and cross those train tracks, those tuition bills will stop. And I've been thinking for weeks, knowing this day was coming, what would fellow parents want of me? This cherished role up here, what one thing would they want? And after some thought, I've decided what they'd really like is a panoramic photo. All right, nobody move. 3, 2, 1. I'll get all your email addresses. Do this. Hang on, I haven't gotten that. You're moving too fast warning yet. And scene. All right, excellent. We'll post it on the website for you. Be great. You'll be able to see all your kids clearly, I'm sure. Now, some advice quickly, because remember about time. I can't believe we beat the train. The only campus with nonstop train service, meaning the train goes by nonstop every couple of minutes. We're going to get this in before the coal train. Hang on. Break the cycle of entitlement and expectation. Remember that admonition. You've got to go after it. You hear those applause on both wings? Those are older people. And here's this generational shift we're dealing with that led to that groundswell of applause. All the people who applauded grew up, we were basically under the assumption we were losers unless proven otherwise in this country. It was just a grinding existence. We were coming up. You guys came along a little different. You know, hey Mom and Dad, I breathed today, and we would order the ice cream cake. So it's a generational mindset shift. It wasn't your fault. We did it because we just felt, oh my God, we can't let them fail at anything. This is terrible. So our educational system and all of that. So the self-esteem and self-celebration created by a generation not your own, let's just check it. Let's just be aware of it as we go forth, especially into the social realm and jobs. Same with the use of first person. Question it. I know it is the basis for social media. My worst fear is that selflessness is perhaps what made us better in the past. I'm genuinely sorry that the focus on self has meant haters in your life that we've all had to deal with no barrier to entry. You are the first generation for which hate via a send button is assumed, it's ubiquitous, it's expected, and its corrosive effects are now baked into you. That's not fair. You are the first generation, have to say it, with the kind of routine obsession poring over imagery, pictures of yourselves, hundreds, perhaps thousands of them, that you feel best represent you to the outside world. Where do you look the best? Where do you look even better? Down to the tilt of your head that you like to do, including all selfies. What's any of that going to mean long term? We have changed. We've gone off on our own with our devices in just the course of one generation, and we haven't put our arms around what this change means yet. We call our online world a community, but that's just to make us feel better. It's not. This is. People to your right and left with hopes and dreams and fears. You have survived this already with them. You may enter into a family with anyone here. You may fight a war with anyone here. That is the definition of a community. So stop yourself. Before you say something to your followers, consider being a leader instead. Consider grit and consider drive. You'll need both as you go after it, as you leave here. And finally, while we're thinking about time, mine is up. And one more thing before I go. Your time with my son is over. We get him back now. There are 4 of us in our unit. My wife and my love of 27 years. My daughter, our first college graduate, and now we have a second. And because enough of this will apply to all of you, and because I'm allowed one point of personal privilege, let me say this. We are so proud of you for what you've accomplished, what you've achieved, what you've overcome, the person you've become, and the limitless things you can be. And because there is a dad in Oklahoma who would give all he has to be able to throw a baseball to his son, about the ricochet. He used to be better, but he's been here for 4 years. When you get home, you return the bargain by throwing that back into my mitt, which is the mitt you learn to pitch into. And then we will be whole again, because all of this has us thinking about time. Good luck. God bless. Class.